Now, if we move on to surcharges, obviously this is a cost that retailers add to the consumer that, in theory, is to recover the costs that they're charged by the credit card companies such as yourselves. What's your take in New Zealand in terms of where these are at the moment? I mean, are retailers and I guess airlines, taxi companies, hotels, are they charging too much?
Look, there is a bit of surcharging in this market, but it's not that prominent. But if I can just give a bit of background and then sort of
Sure.
maybe speculate on where it's going to go. So MasterCard has, all around the world for many years, we've got a default rule that doesn't allow merchants to surcharge our card holders. We've always allowed the merchant to discount for another form of payment if they wanted to incentivize a customer to use a cheaper form of payment if one exists. And we thought that was more of a pleasant surprise to the customer rather than the unpleasant surprise of being asked to pay more than the advertised price, right? The Commerce Commission here 4 years ago, as part of their action, essentially asked us and required us, as well as Visa, to remove that rule and allow surcharging. What we were able to ensure is that rather than remove the rule was amended and we allow surcharging so long as that surcharge reasonably reflects the price or the cost that merchant has for accepting MasterCard payments. So that is a clause in all the contracts that retailers and businesses who accept MasterCard have with their bank. And again, another fact, I need to ensure people understand that is a price that's agreed between the merchant and their acquiring bank, the bank that provides them the FPOS facility. We don't set that price. So that is an enforceable clause. There are a few merchants that are surcharging. Our concern has always been, and this is why we had the rule that didn't allow surcharging, it's those retailers or businesses that operate in a market where they can get away with a surcharge, where they're not facing perfect competition, that will take up that power. And that's what we've seen. And that's not something, we didn't need a crystal ball to guess that. We saw that happen in markets where we were forced to do it many, many years ago in various markets across Europe and the like. We saw it in Australia when the Reserve Bank forced it there 10 years ago. So we knew what was going to happen here, and we did talk about that with the regulators, but for reasons that will need another episode of this program to discuss, they decided to push ahead. So there are a few businesses that in those sorts of environment that are surcharging. I know that the Commerce Commission is keeping an eye on that. There's one live investigation as well. Their preliminary feedback to us has been, look, they don't think there is a breach of the Fair Trading Act, which is essentially the power that the...
This is the New Zealand investigation specifically?
Well, I can't comment on that specifically, that's live, but certainly when they've looked at others before, their view is that they haven't seen an obvious breach of the Act, and so they haven't taken any action. So, to your point, there is a live investigation with Air New Zealand, and I believe the Commission will talk about that as soon as that investigation has completed. I've got two messages out there. For businesses, they need to understand their obligations, that they cannot use this as a profit centre. If they choose to surcharge, and there are downfalls to surcharging, that it's got to reflect their cost. I'd warn them against surcharging.
So you don't think it's merited really at all?
Well, I think businesses that accept cards, credit cards and MasterCard cards, get a whole bunch of benefits from accepting those cards. One, many of them can operate in a direct model, and they don't have to set up expensive shop fronts to collect payments. And we've seen that with many businesses, including those that are surcharging today, who actually don't allow you to go to a shop front and make a payment like you did in the old days. You've got to make a payment with a card, and it saves them significant costs in moving to that model. And so that should be reflected in how they price their service. We also know that what credit cards allow consumers and, as a result, businesses to do is to sort of moderate their spending. If you had to wait for your income to come in, your salary to come in, before you made payments, you have this sort of lumpy effect where I might have a payment due, but I can't pay it, and therefore the business can't be paid until I get paid. Whereas knowing that I've got my salary due in 3 or 4 weeks, I'll make a payment on my MasterCard, pay off my MasterCard when that comes in. I've not incurred any fees because I've got a 50-day interest-free period, and the retailers receive their and the businesses receive their payment 3 or 4 weeks earlier than they would otherwise. So there's a whole bunch of benefits to accepting card payments, and not to mention, increased security around not having to store cash and those sorts of things on premises. So I would really sort of encourage businesses to look at those points when they're deciding whether they surcharge or not. And often the benchmark that's used is cash. Well, cash costs us nothing. Well, we know that's not true, and there are many surveys that have been done of businesses across the world, and it can, the cost of accepting cash for a business will go from anywhere from 1.5 to 3 or 4% of the value of the transaction, right? Which is at the sort of the top end of what it would cost you to accept a credit card to way above what it would cost you to accept a credit card, and consumers don't like it. Consumers just don't like it, and businesses are in the business of attracting consumers. If you want to maximise your chance of that sale, I would encourage you, make a point of not charging that surcharge and use that as a marketing angle.
Thanks for that, Albert. That's Albert Naffah, who is the New Zealand Country Manager for MasterCard, and I'm Gareth Vaughan at interest.co.nz.